Hello, my name is Timothy Barrett Klepsa, and the instructional strategies for this video are for conducting interviews. Learners will have the ability to become an interviewer, also become an interviewee through a collaborative lesson with their peers in the classroom. Interviewing role playing through scheduled Zoom meetings in a peer-to-peer collaboration and making those connections. Also, learning strategies of how to be prepared for an interview is key. In the activity, learners will practice interviewing techniques. Each learner will have the opportunity to, again, be the interviewer and the interviewee. Some strategic points to get across to learners in regard to interviewing is that, as we said at the beginning, it's a form of strategic communication. And any form of communication requires preparation. Be prepared. Carefully crafting, opening to an interview, establishing trust with the interviewee. If possible, here's a good idea. Prepare questions before that you have discussed with the interviewee, or maybe that the interviewee is posed to you. That would depend upon the content. As an example, in a broadcast interview, maybe interviewing somebody on game and fish opportunities in central Arizona would necessitate knowing the abilities, the capabilities, and the position of the interviewee. So questions could be posed from the interviewee in regard to maybe an important function that they would have coming up. So again, establishing having prior knowledge of the content of the interview and also motivation. Know what the interviewee gets motivated by, why they're there, what they're interested in, and be an active listener as well. When you're an active listener and you're an interviewer, don't interrupt unless that person is getting maybe off task or away from the questions, or maybe if there are specific time constraints to the interview, making sure that you're staying to those time constraints within that time. Know when enough is enough. Covering the questions and finish always with the general question of, is there something that we've left out? Again, this is an instructional strategy that we can pass along to the learners to have them prepared for their interview concepts. Again, in the activity, the interviewing techniques are probably most important, but we also need to adapt those interview techniques to each interviewer. Some interviewers are a lot more well versed on a subject or generally tend to flow freely with their speech instead of being just asking a question, leaving it at that, not necessarily following it up. Again, we have to engage those listeners. We have to engage the interviewee with the content knowledge that the interviewer should have. So that goes back to being prepared. Something to remember: in cooperative learning, it supports learner engagement and makes community connections in an online learning environment. So learners need to know it's important to emphasize that in an instructional strategy for teaching about interviews, to know that the future is indeed online. Many classrooms are online. Many professional business environments, certainly government, is a lot more in an online venue now than it ever has been face to face. So Zoom meeting is a good venue to start with in regard to teaching how to interview strategically and targeting the online environment. Once again, interviewing is a form of strategic communication. That strategic communication is best served through being prepared, having the content ready, and also having prior knowledge of the subject and being comfortable. Again, you have to have that trust of the interviewee and interviewer together to have a successful interview. Thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful.